Welcome to the Miss Pursuit podcast, the show that will inspire you to pursue an extraordinary outdoor lifestyle. I'm Carly Brasso, founder and CEO of Miss Pursuit, and we are obsessed with all things outdoors. We're here to help you on your messy and magical journey of getting outside. The tried and true secrets, tips, and tricks for starting, learning, and advancing your skills and passion for the outdoors. Shy away from real talk? Nope, not here. The good, the bad, the ugly, and the awesome of hunting, fishing, guns, archery, and wild game are all what you'll find here. Pull up a seat, get cozy, and be ready to be challenged and motivated while you learn. This is the Miss Pursuit podcast. Today we are talking about conservation and ethics with Jessica Manuell, who's a Miss Pursuit contributor, the operations manager for Canyon Coolers, a ReelCamo girl writer, and also has her own blog, Western Influence. Jessica has a high regard for the outdoor lifestyle and the preservation of it for the future. She teaches Hunter Education for the state of Arizona, is the new chairman of the Arizona Mule Deer Organization, and participates on the local NWTF chapter committee. This year, she was named New Hunter Educator of the Year for the state. From 9 to 5, she is the operations manager for Canyon Coolers. But basically, any other hour of the day, you'll find her hiking with her dogs, scouting for a hunt, shooting a rifle or bow, cooking up some new recipe with game meat, or conversing with others about the outdoors. Okay, Jessica, welcome to the Miss Pursuit podcast. We are super excited you are here. Are you ready to get started?
I sure am.
Okay, so I want to talk with you about conservation and ethical hunting. I personally, follow a lot of people on Instagram and kind of know a little bit about I try to have my pulse, know what's going on.
Yep.
When I see you, I really think you are a thought leader and advocate in our space for conservation and really ethics. You are very opinionated. A little feisty, which
Yep.
you do know those coming from me are like best qualities, because I think that's what has kind of drawn me to you. And so I know you're going to shoot us straight. And that's, again, what I really love. So how did you get your start in the outdoors? Have you always loved being outside? Is this a new thing? Like, how did you get started hunting and doing all that good stuff?
This is this is not new for me at all, and I was just thinking about how to explain this morning before we talked. And my family on all sides actually is pretty much a love affair with the outdoors. Whether they hunt, my great grandfather was a fisherman in the Pacific Northwest. Construction, blue collar jobs, like always doing something. I honestly think that I was potty trained on one of those portable toilets behind the tire of the dune buggy that my dad built at the sand dunes. So I've done everything outdoors from the beginning. We fished a lot and recreationally shot from a very young age. But in high school is when I started tagging along with friends who hunted. And then in college, on my own and with some friends. So it's been a good 20 years of that now. So like aging myself a little bit there, but that's all right.
And then your husband, he's an
Uh-huh.
outdoorsman.
He
He
is,
hunts.
yes.
Y'all go on some like pretty crazy adventures.
Oh yeah. Um, our honeymoon was hunting in Alaska. That was my idea. Of course, he didn't even hesitate to say yes. So it's Arizona, so we, try to hunt as often as they give us a tag here. If we get tired of it, we'll get over the counter tags in other states and go somewhere else to hunt. So, yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. Well, so this is in the hunting community, the outdoors community, we talk about conservation and
Mm-hmm.
ethical hunting a lot. I think a non-hunter or someone who is not familiar with hunting, um, those are two really hard concepts to grasp
Yes.
coming from a hunter, right? So we talk conservation, and they're like, oh, wait, you kill the animals for conservation? Like that just doesn't, or like ethical hunting, like killing is killing. How can you do it ethically?
Yeah, it
So
doesn't
I've had
compute.
a lot of these discussions, and like it is a hard concept. So would you just tell us like what is conservation?
Um, Basic definition is prevention of wasteful use of a resource, right? So you can think about that out about everything, um, everything on this planet for us is a resource, and how do we use it without wasting it? If you want to get into the hunting side of that, there are hunting laws, rules, and regulations to aid in conservation. That conservation basically is an act. It's physical. It's philosophical. Um, it's it's to preserve what's already in place, which is why we have those laws and regs. You want to protect it for the future, right? Or you maintain or go back to an equilibrium or a balance. Hunting is a tool for conservation. It's I hear a lot of people say that hunting is conservation, but it really is just a tool in the toolbox for conservation as a whole. And I think it's a pretty integral tool, um, just because the act of conservation requires a lot of funding, and the majority of that funding does come from hunters and outdoor recreationalists.
So what are some other tools in the conservation toolbox?
Sure. So, uh, tourism for one, but it's a small contribution. Um, for example, like here in Arizona, some lottery dollars go towards some that. So some outside of hunting recreation is even kind of included in it. Um, we talk about the Pittman Robertson Act all the time, where there's this excise tax on um, sporting arms, ammunition, things like that. There's also money from pistols and revolvers that go into it. Archery equipment is included in that. There's actually another part of the act where all your fishing licenses and things like that. So even if you're not into hunting, but you just want to go out and shoot, you're still a contributor um, to that.
Okay. So tell me, like, let's talk. I'm a non-hunter. I
Oh,
don't get it. I have no idea. Like, are we bringing in carry capacity into this discussion as far as conservation? Are those two related?
I certainly believe so. So you've got like this ecosystem. Look, if you look at it globally or even on a small scale, so you've got all this things that everyone needs: animals, humans, you know, all your resources, food, water, shelter, all that kind of stuff. So there is a carrying capacity in each ecosystem. Wildlife managers and actually science, if you use it right, will give you the best information on what's appropriate for that area. Um, if you want to talk about outside the United States, you know, you've got human animal conflict in a lot of places. The act of conservation for that like creates value in the animal. If we think about it, a lot of people eat meat or things that are derived from animals, and so you have to create a value on those animals. So for me, that's part of conservation too, and why hunting is so important. And from the aspect of what it costs for people to hunt, um, if you can portray that some way to people who are non-hunters, like the value of the whole act of hunting, the whole act of conservation, like maybe that would help them make sense of what we do, why we kill. You're gonna delete the
So,
word kill, aren't you?
you better use the word harvest.
Harvest.
I loved that. And I mean, listen, we're going to totally side note, but you have written some pieces. You're just smart, and believe what you believe, but what you believe is really based on facts. I have my opinions. I will share my opinions all day long. They're really not really factual. I just know I kind of
Yeah,
think
they are.
this, and so I blurt around like I know what I'm talking about, which is really the problem with, I think, social media. I think media. I think all of us just really nowadays just have these really strong opinions,
Yep.
and they're not backed by anything. You have very strong opinions, but you freaking know what you are talking about.
I think
Like, you have the science and the shit backing it up.
I read too much. Um, I go down a lot of rabbit holes, and I like to ask a lot of questions. But really, honestly, give me the facts. All right.
So,
So,
would you,
anyways,
no, that's okay. I mean, would you say, like, because our population of humans, right? Like, we are growing and growing and we're expanding and our cities are getting bigger, even our rural areas are starting to grow and grow. So, we are starting to use more of the food, shelter,
yep.
land, water, all these things that really our wildlife used to have.
Uh huh.
And it's kind of our fault. I don't know if that's the right word, that is now causing less carry capacity
Yep.
for our wildlife.
Mm-hmm.
So we're needing to harvest more and kill more animals to keep the ecosystem in check. Is that a fair statement, or are you going to rebuttal me?
No, I think it really depends on the ecosystem, to be honest with you. Um, and depends on where you are. If you think about whitetail on the East Coast, there's still places where whitetail will eat themselves out of house and home. And so that's why the limits on them are more, so they don't starve, basically. Um, Out here in the West, where everybody's having a horrible drought, um, they've cut a lot of tags just, you know, because of either uh, low births or just maintaining a good population for each unit that is out here, right? But it's also based on food and water. So
So, what would you say to someone who's like, well, then we bring in, right, predators and predator control. So why do we need to keep the ecosystem in check? Won't it just check itself?
no, eventually, if you let it go long enough, everything is so fragmented. You'll have one predator that basically will eat everything and then have nothing left to eat themselves. Um, the rate of reproduction on animals, especially predators, is very high compared to their prey. So it's the predator discussion is hard for me. I think that's an even tougher discussion to have with people who don't hunt than actually hunting themselves. Um, Most people eat a lot of the predators that they take or utilize something from them. For me, it's not a waste if it's done within the confines of what's legal. And that limit or bag limit or season and stuff is there for a reason. It's because it makes sense for each ecosystem that you're doing it in. But you literally cannot. I'm looking for something that I saved the other night. Bear with me a moment. I'm just going to read it to you because it has to deal with Arizona and I want to say it like correctly.
Okay.
Um, Old school thought was in order to have ungulates, deer, elk, antelope, things like that for a food source, the idea was let's get rid of all the predators. So there used to be this idea, especially here in the US, that let's just kill all the lions, let's kill all the wolves, let's kill all the coyotes, like everything. We used to have wolves here. There's some that have been brought back. Up on the Kaibab Plateau, it's actually a pretty big example that gets used a lot. All hunting of the mule deer was stopped, but that created a problem. They grew beyond the resources and basically almost got rid of all the deer up there. And if you think about the Kaibab right now, that's trophy world class, like biggest mule deer in the world are taken from there now. But that's because they brought hunting back to that area. So it can't just take care of itself. If there were no humans on this planet, then sure, maybe it would go back to some kind of balance, but that's not going to happen anytime soon. So, and hunters are not the only people that are working on that. Like, you've got all kinds of wildlife societies, and refuges and things in place that like help determine what is the best balance of a predator-prey relationship, to keep that ecosystem around for as long as we can.
Is there, when we talk conservation and we talk wildlife biologists and we talk seasons and bag limits and all of these things, is there a political aspect to that? Like, do you think it's always, these things are always done what's best for wildlife? Or do you think we have a little politics that gets brought into decisions that are made?
I think a lot of politics get brought into it, unfortunately. It's a hard balance. You, from the top down, like, you basically are required to represent everyone that you're an umbrella over. So let's say like the Game and Fish in your state manages all the wildlife and fish and plants and like everything in your state. Not everyone in that state hunts or fishes. Not everyone agrees with it. So you have to balance what you need to do to preserve it, but also keep in the public eye like the importance of it, with those people who don't agree with it. I'm absolutely going to say politics have a play in some things that have been happening out west recently, and most of it's where a group will stand on the political scale, and hunting is not just a Republican sport. And I think a lot of people, especially some old school trains of thought, forget that. It's also hindering bringing new people in to the sport because you're trying to segregate that demographic based on what your voter status is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the whole like conscious eating movement that became really cool, I thought whatever a couple years ago has helped hunting.
Mm-hmm.
I think that just became so like the farm to table and the blah blah blah. Like, and to me, I see that, I'll say quote unquote, is more a liberal type thing that has happened.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that trend and that fad brought people over into the hunting community.
Yep.
Because, well, you want to talk, I know you've had some posts on like organic meat, like is it organic, and there's some of that discussion with you, but healthy meat, like,
Yep.
you want to talk healthier meat and you want these farm to table and you want all this crap. Well, hunters hunting is how you get that kind of food.
It is. I've also seen, I'm really blessed in a couple programs I got to participate back when I lived in Oregon that, when this was emerging, brought the value of sourcing your own food back to the forefront. And there's a lot of people that I even grew up with that would never never even consider killing their own chicken in the backyard to have dinner that night. And now it's something they do on the regular. And a lot of people have made a business out of it. And no, that's not hunting, but it's livestock. It's a source of protein for their family. It's the same concept, right? Put in the time and effort, and then from start to finish. Um, so
Yeah, I think the trendy food thing has helped
Mhm.
us. And I think too, even COVID, like people were screwed. Like you can't freaking do anything. Your
Right.
life sucks. Like you're stuck. What literally is there to do? Go outside.
Mhm.
You know, go outside, go to the lake, go fishing, go there's nothing to do. Go on a hike. And I think that was a benefit to outdoorsmen and to all of us. It started moving people outside.
It did.
Um,
It gave us record numbers of tag sales or permit applications for hunting, licenses and things like that in the last year. Um, Kind of makes some old timers grumble, especially when it's on a lottery system. You know, their percentage of getting that tag goes down, but um, I can see that point of view. On the other side of it, I also see more people getting outdoors and actually realizing what the heck is going on.
mhm.
Like maybe they'll actually see why it's not just a free for all anymore. Just go shoot whatever you want. Like, I think that helps.
Let's talk ethical hunting.
Hmm.
What the hell does that mean?
It is basically doing the right thing. Doing the right
What
thing,
it,
regardless of whether somebody is watching you or not, even if the wrong thing's legal. Now, this, yeah, great. Aldo Leopold, thank you for that because it has stood the test of time. Um, Now, right or wrong can be interpreted a lot of different ways, right? Depending on who you're talking about. Um, but even inside of ethics, you can have stuff that's legal, but for me, it's the irresponsible hunters that create the biggest heartache for us. Ethical hunters will not bend or break the laws to do what they want to do.
so give me an example of something that may be legal
Um,
but not ethical.
I'll probably burn some bridges with this one here, and I don't care. It is not.
This is why I love you.
It is not illegal to put a dead duck in your mouth, but it certainly is not ethical to put it in your mouth, take a picture, and put it on social media. It's just not.
Okay.
Um, I we're talking about that goes out to billions of people around the world that you see, and you, as the person who does it, you want to preserve your way of life and be able to do that. And hunters are not the majority on this planet, um, and to disrespect an animal so much, in my opinion, for what reason I don't know. Um, it's not ethical. There's places in Colorado where you can backpack, hike, kayak, and actually hunt at the same location. And if a bunch of people are standing around photographing some, 400-inch elk, and you've got a tag, should you shoot it right in front of them? No. Is it legal? Yeah, but just a little bit of common sense goes kind of a
Yeah.
long way. When we talk about parading through town when you're done, there's probably some small towns where that's still cool in the lower 48. Um, it's probably not right either. I mean,
Hmm. Yeah, Will and I have had that discussion. So I had written a post. I wrote for the Exotic Wildlife Association a
mhm,
couple years back, and this ethical hunting and this was some stuff. But we like, what is ethical hunting? And
right.
that was a few things: leaving the land better than you found it, always taking a clean shot.
Mhm.
Some of these things. But that was something that cover the deer, like the riding through town with the deer up and everyone can see it and the bloody and the, like, I know, when we leave a hunting trip and we have something freaking badass in our truck bed, it's like you kind of want the antler up just a little bit. So,
Sure, you're proud of it. Yeah.
yeah, it's like, oh, when we stop at the gas station, we know all these other guys are leaving town at the same time after their hunt trip, and you kind of want people to like come over and see how awesome you are.
Sure.
But there's not everyone, seeing hunters come through with blood everywhere and blah, it just doesn't help.
It doesn't
Like
help.
we really do have to be so careful in how we represent ourselves.
I think a lot of it really has things to do with where you're at also. Like a prime example, we have to be at the airport to leave Fairbanks at 5 a.m. with our moose and caribou and everything. So we got a bunch of coolers lined up to send through baggage claim and antlers. Every single person in line to get on that Alaska Airlines flight that morning had a box full of meat or antlers and a gun or a bow case. When we landed in Phoenix, however,
Not the case.
Here I am, like, husband standing on the side of the road waiting for me to show up with the truck, and these ladies are over there, like, covering their mouths and whispering and stuff. Like, it's just, yeah. So being as respectful as you can, honestly, and giving thought to the location you're in while you're doing it.
Yeah.
It's probably the biggest thing with ethics that's visible to the public is that part of it.
Yeah. And there is that line between being proud and being
A jerk.
respectful too of other people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't really care what people think, but we have to.
Right.
Okay. Is it ethical to kill an animal you're not going to eat or use any piece of?
Well, ask New Zealand that. New Zealand likes to just, if it's overpopulated down there, let's just shoot it and let them lay out on the ground and rot, right? That one's probably going to give me some lashings too. But
everything you say is going to get you in a little trouble.
Most people use something off of an animal that they kill. My husband will go out and predator hunt. It's not often that the hide of the coyote doesn't come home. We're certainly not going to eat that dog, but I know some people have. I don't know what they're thinking, but whatever. To each their own. There's an allotment, right? There's an allowable limit. There's actually not a limit on coyotes. There's just some seasonal restrictions in some places, but at least here there's not a limit. And is it ethical? I'm going to say yes, because if we look at what the act of conservation is, again, it is maintaining that balance or that equilibrium. And there's some people who are anti-coyote hunting, who are going to throw studies in your face that killing coyotes don't do anything for their population. Well, yeah, if you overkill them, they will have more pups, but it's not often that they're overkilled. Mm-hmm. They're everywhere.
Yeah. So you're saying here, it is okay to... that's not what you're saying, but I'm gonna word it like this, even though I know this is kind of not what you're saying. It's okay to kill a coyote if you take the skin.
Yeah, we don't always take the skin.
Yeah, we don't. We just leave them.
We don't.
They're nasty. They ruin the land. They go after the calves. Like, we have our personal reasons for not our ranch, but the ranch we hunt on.
Sure.
Of why they should be gone. Yeah. Okay. Here's a question. free range aoudad
Uh-huh.
in Texas.
Mhm.
Um, it's an exotic, so no tags, no season, shoot whatever because it's non-native. It's an exotic. Um, do you think it's ethical to just leave it? I mean, or maybe just hunt it for its horns and not eat the meat, or do some of that. Basically, you take a shot on that for the horns.
Heck no. Well, I mean, if you're out, I don't know why you wouldn't eat it, I guess.
An aoudad?
Yeah, why not? It's like a goat or a sheep, right?
Yeah, it nasty. We had a friend, so we've taken two
My
aoudad, and
husband won't eat goats. He does like regular farm goats. This is some of the best meat in the entire world. And he's like, it's nasty. What are you
I
talking
don't
about?
know why. And this is, I guess, something too. Like I'll harvest something. I'll kill something that we may not eat, and I think there is just this thing too about the meat. I don't know, and that again goes to non-hunters. Like, well, it's only okay to hunt, if you're going to take the meat, and it's like, well, there's so many other pieces to it. Ugh, aoudad, I just cannot. I know people, and I guess people are really good cooks, and so they know how to do it up really good. But
That's when you just give all the meat to that person. Okay,
that's
so like here, anybody who like javelina,
yeah,
they reek. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, they stink. They actually smell like skunk smells good, but they smell worse than a skunk. Literally. But, people get tags for them. They're a managed species here, even though they're invasive. And then I've heard of people that leave them. I'm like, hey, somebody will take that. A lot of people eat javelina. I can make you, excuse me, make sausage for you. With the family, you wouldn't even know what you're eating, kind of thing. Um,
yeah.
and I think somebody will eat it. It kind of bugs me that people leave javelina out there because, you know,
Is it easy to donate meat in Arizona?
you pretty much just ask your neighbor. No, I don't. I don't know what the I don't know what the rules are regarding
Yeah,
that. Having
yeah,
having lived, I will say this: I used to live in Yuma, right on the border, and zero zero problems giving away meat to anybody I know, especially people I worked on the farm with, um,
yeah.
and mostly because they could cook it into something that I would eat. um, and but I wish that I knew what the laws were in our state for donating. I know you
Yeah,
can,
it's kind
but
of a pain in the butt here.
is it?
Yeah, there's only like a few donation centers that will take it, but you have to have it processed,
Yeah,
and done, which, that's 150, like whatever it is. And it's like just, you may have to drive like 2 hours out of the way to drop it off, but you still have to pay. I'm like, just let me drop off the thing and y'all handle it,
yeah,
but
yeah.
they make it a little inconvenient for those of us like me who's a little bit more prissy about for me.
They should. Well, they should make it easier to do that. I mean, there's a need. You go everywhere. There's a need for food for everybody.
Yeah.
It should be an easy process, I think. But
Okay, so let's talk like some poaching. Tell me a couple of stories to you that have really made an impact, like that just piss you off. So whether it's poaching or, just because it's legal doesn't mean it's right. And you've kind of said one or two of these. But what are a couple of stories that stand out to you on that's not freaking cool?
you want to talk about real poaching?
I don't know, sure.
Um, I'm pretty sure that I will remember this till the day I die, especially since their defense attorney tried to make me look like a dumb blonde in the courtroom. Um, when you witness, you're not allowed to use drones here, and most places probably. But on a hunt with some friends and heard a noise, we were looking at this elk about 800 yards away. Saw a drone come in. Saw some hunters come in. Saw some hunters go up, shooting elk, and try to hide in the bushes and leave. So basically, we lost a day and a half of hunting ourselves because we called it in. And I was a person whose cell phone, yeah, I used my own cell phone to take a screenshot of our location where it happened. So it's time and date stamped, sent it to our Operation Game Thief here. Like a year or something later, we're in the courtroom talking about this kind of stuff. Anyways, the guys got off. I'm pretty sure it's because of just how busy everyone legally was in the state at the time, and um, the guy who didn't get off was the one harassing with a drone, but that really wasn't like the point. That wasn't the worst thing that happened that day, in my opinion. And so it really, those folks, are still out there, probably doing the same thing again this year.
Same shit.
You know, and it's not the first time that they have been in trouble with game and fish either. So that kind of thing is really frustrating. So like I was saying earlier, that ethical hunters don't bend the rules or do wrong things to get what they want.
No.
That's super frustrating to me.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No. And another one that I will say, the social media and YouTube and all of this stuff online is super telling. I watched a video of a guy one day. I was curious because the headline caught my eye, shot a coos deer at 1,000 yards. He actually didn't shoot the coos deer at 1,000 yards. He took 6 shots at it and still didn't hit it. And it wasn't a bad weather day or anything. It's just, he honestly, you could say it as many times as he wants that he knows what he's doing, but if you haven't hit something that far away on your 6th shot, you don't know what you're doing. And I'm not saying that people can't take 1,000-yard shot on an animal. It's a very, very small group of people that actually practice and shoot that much all the time. But I don't think that it's ethical. If you think about 1,000, think about how far away that is and how long it's going to take you to get there if it were flat ground with no obstructions. If you wound something and then now it's just gone because you couldn't find it or didn't see where it goes, to me that's not ethical. Just because you can doesn't mean you should.
Yep. But not that long ago, there was a post, and I can't even remember the account necessarily, which it doesn't matter, but they had, and I think I shared it on my stories, and I feel like you maybe said something, and I know quite a few of us reported the post, but it was like 20 dead pigs, all already dead, all piled up, and I guess they took like their ARs or whatever, and they were just like and just like blasting them.
Gross.
I'm like, you freaking idiots.
Yeah.
Like, that is, you're dead. That's legal. Whatever.
Right.
Not freaking cool. Like that, I don't know why that one like pissed me off. I'm like, the social media, and that's where we've got to be freaking chill.
Yep.
Like, don't do that. That is not cool. I think that was one of my more recent ones that I was like, this shit I'm not down with. And I think I reported the account like a real rebel. Yeah, not cool. Okay, you have this major emergency. You have to leave the house right this second. What are 3 things you're going to take with you?
I take my pistol with me every day. I take a pocket knife with me every single day. And generally, in an emergency, the dogs.
And the dogs. And the dogs. So you carry every day?
Every single day. Yeah.
Do you carry into work, or do you leave your gun in your car? Can I ask that question? I don't know.
Sure, you can ask that question. So I am in a firearm-friendly workplace.
Yeah.
It's not hidden from anyone that I work with. So.
Okay. Yeah. What is like the coolest product on the market right now that you are like, oh, this is awesome? Or maybe not right now. Maybe it's old school. I've had it for a million years. I will always use this.
Um, honest to goodness, I've got an Elan Merino hoodie from Proas that I take everywhere with me. Every scouting trip, every hunt. Like it's a layer. It's in my bag on every single trip we take. Um, it's a woman's product. It's like pro something women's product, but it's um, like I finally found like a piece of hunting gear that I'm gonna take everywhere with me. Like that's how I feel about it.
There you go.
So I like to stay warm. Um, I get cold pretty easy, even in Arizona. So yeah,
Do you think y'all will be in Arizona forever?
I don't know. We are building a house. We should have permits in October.
Good. That's exciting.
Yeah, very exciting. Right on Forest Service boundary. We're building it because we couldn't find anything big enough to hang all our taxidermy in.
Well, see, this is why your husband should be a taxidermist. So basically, he opened his shop, and I was like, take all your shit and put it in the shop. So our house literally, I think right now has like 2 mounts in it.
Yeah.
Which our other house, and like before he opened his shop, we probably had 30, which is psychotic.
Mm-hmm.
But now basically every single thing has to go to the shop.
Yeah, he told
Like,
me I had to stop killing stuff that was big enough or special enough to have mounted because we were running out of space.
it's funny. Okay, well, anything else you want our audience to know about conservation, about ethics, about hunting, fishing, your anything? Is there anything else that we kind of missed that you're like, you know what? One more talking point. This is important.
I know one thing when we talked about, you briefly mentioned like leaving the land better than you found it. Hunters are seen as big time recreationalists, but we're not the only people that go to a pit and shoot. Like, pick up your trash, pick up after yourself, pick up your shotgun shells or your spent casings. Like, this is a big beef I have because there's so much public land here that you can basically, if there's no fire restrictions, you can go do this anywhere, just about anywhere here, as long as you're not like next to houses or in city limits and things like that. But people just leave their trash, and we're always picking up after someone that was there before us. So my biggest thing is don't leave your trash there, but B, go ahead and pick up after somebody. It sucks.
Somebody else's.
Yeah, it does suck, but I want to keep using that resource. I want that space left for me to go use. So,
and I think, as hunters, and I think all of us really, whether you're a bird watcher or angler
Mhm.
or hiker or whatever, we are all still using the same shared space.
Yes.
And respect each other's hobbies.
Yes.
As it all we all are impacting each other.
Yes.
But again, I think hunting is just a harder thing to grasp for people.
Mm-hmm.
That we love nature and we love wildlife and we all these things that we know. But I think the bird watcher or the hiker, in the same space and area has a harder time understanding that. So I think that's where as hunters being respectful and going the extra step,
yes,
will do us all more good.
A lot of good. Yep. I agree.
Thank you for being on the Miss Pursuit podcast, Jessica.
Thanks for letting me.
I know you did excellent. So thank you so much. Really, we loved having you.
No, I appreciate the opportunity to do it. So.
Make sure to follow Jessica on Instagram at jessica.l.manuell, and definitely check out her blog at www.western-influence.com. And as always, head over to misspursuit.com, sign up for our newsletter, and buy some super awesome merchandise. Thanks for listening to the Miss Pursuit podcast. Stay outside, and we will see you next week. Make sure to follow Jessica on Instagram at jessica.l.manuell. And definitely check out her blog at www.western-influence.com. And as always, head over to misspursuit.com, sign up for our newsletter, and buy some super awesome merchandise. Thanks for listening to the Miss Pursuit podcast. Stay outside, and we will see you next week.